and welcome to the Big Debate live on SABC2 and SAFM. My name is Ridi Tlabi. Thank you for joining us. Now, almost half of South Africans choose not to vote in the elections. Why have we given up our right to choose our leaders? Have we lost faith in political parties? The ANC, the DA and the EFF all receive cash from donors in secret. The ANC has admitted to making millions from questionable business deals. So can we trust our leaders to make policy in our interest? Take the recent VAT increase. Was it really necessary, or could the hole in our budget have been plugged by reversing some of the suspect deals? Has the time come for all political parties to show us the money and to be more accountable to voters? Well, with me to discuss this are Jackson Mthembu, Parliamentary Chief Whip of the ANC. We have Makhosi Khoza, former ANC MP who was forced to resign after supporting a vote of no confidence in former President Jacob Zuma. Now she's the leader of African Democratic Change. We also have Dali Mpofu, National Chairperson of the EFF, Natasha Mazon, DA MP and Shadow Minister of Public Enterprises, Ngabayomzi Gwangwa, Deputy President of the UDM, Janine Ogle from My Vote Counts, and last but not least, Delta Mokoena, founder of the Bushbuckridge Residents Association. We also have party members and spokespeople from all these parties and more, plus investigative journalist Tom Ngosi. And community leaders, as usual, are here from Gauteng and Mpumalanga. Welcome to all of you. Thank you. So this is how it works. You at home can tweet us, Facebook us or buzz us. Drop us a missed call and we'll call you right back. Listen online during the commercial breaks to hear those comments. But before we talk about political parties in South Africa, let's take a look at this.
I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
Democracy, freedom, inclusion. Principles the African National Congress was built upon and Nelson Mandela was prepared to die for. The party embodied the hopes of millions. Today, few people associate the ANC with democracy, transparency and moral conscience.
You can't be a party member and you vote with your conscience.
These days, the ANC prefers the appearance of unity to real democracy in its ranks. Now that Zuma has been ejected, the ANC has closed ranks. The official line is, he did nothing wrong. The ANC does not wash its dirty laundry in public. Out in the provinces, dissent within the party seems to be tolerated even less. Delta Mokoena from Bushbuckridge, Mpumalanga, joined the ANC when he was only 15 years old. He grew up with no water supply or decent roads. He hoped the ANC would address these problems. Progress was frustratingly slow. In 2009, national ANC leaders came to Bushbuckridge.
The reason why the NEC visited this region is because they want to hear whether the ANC municipality is delivering services to the community. We've been instructed to say, must say yes instead of no. Then I said, no, I'm not going to stand by telling the leadership lies.
After refusing to toe the line, Mokoena was warned not to come back to ANC meetings.
During the General Council is where I was beaten. Our soul, it's not belong to the ANC. It's not. Let's do something. We can't wait.
Mokoena is not the only ANC comrade in Mpumalanga to be silenced. Former Municipal Speaker Chumi Mohlala was killed a week before he was due to testify about tender irregularities in the 2 billion rand Mbombela Stadium.
The Mbombela Stadium is a precursor to a gangsterization of politics.
Paul Holden wrote a book about corruption in the arms deal. He believes party leaders use their power to avoid prosecution.
A lack of accountability destroys democracies, whether it's criminal accountability or political accountability. And this is an example of both coming together.
Investigative journalist Tom Ngosi says that service delivery is directly compromised to reward politically linked entrepreneurs.
This issue of water is not being addressed very deliberately, because when you have to supply water through water tanks, it's treated as an emergency. What it means is that you don't have to go through due tendering processes.
Mokoena and his comrades decided to go it alone and form their own movement.
We said we are no longer going to join any other party. It's why we started this organization, BRA.
The Bushbuck Ridge Residents Association won several municipal wards and has a seat in the Mpumalanga provincial legislature. It has fought to maintain its independence from outside influence, especially business.
We don't have a fund. We only have people, unlike in the ANC and the DA.
Leading ANC donor Robert Gumede approached BRA to strike a deal.
Mr. Gumede said, I am Robert Gumede. I am the oxygen of Mpumalanga. Then he wanted me to come back to the ANC.
If donors can offer money in return for appointment to party lists, who is the party accountable to? NGO My Vote Counts believes parties must disclose all their funding sources to prevent corruption. But most parties are reluctant.
The decision about whom to support and who to give money to is essentially a private decision.
The ANC is not shy to suggest that business can get ahead by funding the party.
If you don't invest in the ANC, your business is in danger.
In Bushbuck Ridge, despite intimidation, BRA remains unshaken.
The BRA office were demolished by the MEC under the leadership of Premier Didi Mabuza. Why? They want to kill BRA forever.
All right, let's start our discussion. We start with you, Jackson Mthembu. I know that that was a matter that is relevant to Mpumalanga, but I think it is also resonating throughout the country. Delta says the ANC wanted to kill BRA. They raised these matters internally in the way that the ANC demands of its comrades. The suggestion here is that if you speak out against ANC leadership, Didi Mabuza in particular, you won't survive, politically at least.
Well, first of all, let's welcome this debate. We have spoken out ourselves in the ANC.
Give him a chance, too early for that.
We have spoken out. Of course, the wheels of justice in any party, they take too long, they are too slow. But you'll know, as I do, that even on the question of when we did not do that well in the local government elections in 2016, there were serious deliberations in the ANC, particularly at the leadership level, where we said, indeed, we must correct our wrongs. Those wrongs might speak to all those that are being said here.
But you can suspend and fire all those whose names come up, especially in assassins, as we've seen in Mpumalanga. The wheels of justice don't have to turn that slowly.
No. By the way, what we needed to do was, first of all, to deal with ourselves at national leadership. Did we have the political will to deal with those matters? We did not have. Until we went to a 54th conference of the ANC. Indeed, everybody is saying today there is a new dawn. Because, first of all, we are confronting corruption and manipulation of our own processes.
Are you saying
as
all
ANC.
the problems of the ANC, every single one of them, stemmed from just one person, former President Jacob Zuma?
No. We never said that. But you'll also know that when you don't have political will at the highest levels to deal with those difficulties, then you cause problems for all levels of the organization. Therefore, for you to start correcting yourself, you need to start at the highest level.
EFF, is it time to give them a break? They've got new leadership. There's going to be this renewal. One man is gone and everything is going to be bab.
No, absolutely not. There's no new dawn. The same people, Jackson Mthembu, Matabile Dlamini, Cyril Ramaphosa, the whole lot, they were there when this rot was happening, when these assassinations were happening. And why did they fire people like Makosi here if it was supposed to be one person? The rot that is within the ANC is structural and it is inherent in that organization. It's institutionalized and they have survived the whole entire organization. You can't tell me nobody in this country can believe, for example, that the Gupta money did not fund them in the past 2 elections. Obviously it did, and I'm sure those kinds of things are going to come out. The reality is this: we need transparency, we need accountability, but more importantly, we need to live up to the slogan that says the people shall govern. Because right now, if there's secret funding, it's not the people that are governing, it's the bank balance that is governing.
We're going to speak in greater detail. Okay. We're going to talk in greater detail about party funding, but let's talk about the EFF. I mean, how democratic are you in the EFF? 60% of your MPs, we hear that they've been silently, quietly redeployed, asked to resign, some for giving interviews to the media. I mean, is it true of the EFF that if you criticize the commander-in-chief, you also will not survive? How democratic are you?
No, that is not true. If it was true, I wouldn't survive because I criticize him all the time in our meetings. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we don't know about that.
Well, but I suppose in every organization, the democracy is about not so much about individuals. It's about ensuring that the structures of the organization are able to talk and they're able to differ with the leadership. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. When we, in 2016, after this question of the elections, whether we were going to go into coalitions and so on, we called our entire national leadership, including the provincial leaders, and said to them, you take the decision. And we actually had a secret ballot within our own organization to decide that question. That's how democratic.
What happened to your 60% of the MPs who are said to have left for whatever reasons?
No, that's a misguided article by a so-called Gareth van Onselen, who did not even speak to us. We are a young organization. The rotation of our MPs is actually a deliberate thing. Actually, our original plan was that by now we would have changed everybody, we would have put a whole new team, because we want to give other people a chance, and we also want to position ourselves in a particular way. So the mere fact, what Van Onselen says in that article, for example, he says either people were resigned or were expelled, and he puts them in the same category.
So you're saying that's not true. Makwesi, did you have a problem with loyalty? I mean, political parties need loyalty in order to survive. You supported a vote of no confidence against the former president. It feels as though you felt that Jacob Zuma was a tumor that needed to be removed. Well, they've since removed him. All parties need loyalty. You were not loyal enough?
Let me tell you something. Conscience is a right that is guaranteed in the Constitution. If you violate that right, you are actually violating the Constitution of the Republic. As far as I'm concerned, the ANC is no longer aligned to the very Constitution that it was the architectures of. Mm-hmm. And as far as I'm concerned, the ANC has accomplished its mission. Right now, it has become more about positions and positioning oneself close to the state, to state power and state resources. That's all it is. That's the vehicle that you are talking about. What we need in South Africa, we need a new model of political system that is going to allow individual South Africans to be able to contest elections. And the ADEC has come up with a model entitled Poor Politics Unusual. We are allowing citizens to be able to say, I can contest elections, and because contesting elections is very expensive, you must remember to register to actually fight an election, you need about 700,000 rands fee. If you are an individual, how are you going to do that? And ADEC seeks to address that.
Are you attracted by anything you've heard, Delta? Anything you've heard from the African Democratic Change and EFF? Why don't you join them? They could do with your members.
Thanks. I think spiritually we are together. Because I think our biggest enemy, must understand, that's the ANC. I am from the ANC. Jackson with him, remember, he was my commander, but you don't know me now. I'm not sure. You see, it's a pity. It's a pity as we were sitting here. The ANC lying in front of us as the product of ANC. They're lying.
In what way are they lying? What are they saying?
Let me talk about Mpumalanga per se. I think when you do some research, the whole South Africa, the most dangerous, corrupt province is in Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga. Let me give them one. I'm from the ANC. They expelled me. Okay? I was rescued by the police officers, SAPS. Okay? Why? It's because the former premier, Didi Mabunda, let me say former premier was the deputy president of the ANC. Okay. The former premier, we raised an issue in Mpumalanga, in particular in Bushbuckridge, since 1994. Let me give I was the one who was leading the campaign before 1994 with Jackson Mthembu. The ANC prioritized five key, okay, things, issues, in terms of their manifesto. One, let me remind them. There is the issue of crime, issue of education, job creation, issue of rural development, issue of health.
Okay, Jackson, look at the anger out there. I mean, he's not making these things up. He's emphatically stating, we've got to listen to each other. We've got to listen to each other. He's emphatically listing all the things in which the ANC has failed and has also failed to self-correct. They were evident. They were there. I'm going to use the crime. The body bags that came out of Mpumalanga, Jimmy Muhlale, Joshua Nkudla, who has disappeared. There is Michael Pilembe, who was assassinated last year. He worked for Public Works. He was a deputy ANC branch member. The ANC is fast asleep as people are dying over tenders and contracts.
Perhaps, let's say, when the ANC said that it needed to self-correct, it was quite aware of all these ills within the organization. It was also aware of the abuse of also our state resources by some that were deployed in government. Therefore, we are saying we have created a political environment where that self-correction is possible. Secondly, in fact, it's us, by the way, who have said we must have a commission, judicial commission on state capture, so that all those who are milking the state must be called to account and be held accountable. The Hawks have started arresting everyone who is involved in criminality.
We haven't seen high-profile political arrests from the former president, ministers, and so on.
But Reddy, I've said that the 54th conference, that conference was in December. In December, in a month's time, we have seen the ANC recalling a sitting president of the Republic. In the same week, putting another new president in place who gave us a speech on Friday, a State of the Nation address, and said, we are going to deal with corruption, immaterial who's involved.
All right, we're going to hear from the DA, investigative journalist, My Vote Counts, when he come back in the next segment. When we come back also, we will talk money. We lift the lid on some questionable deals that will raise your eyebrows. One deal is so big that it might explain the VAT increase. Intrigued? Don't go away. Welcome back to the big debate on political party funding and democracy. We're live on SABC2 and SAFM. Now, when the ANC government increased VAT by 1% this week to raise 30 billion rand, did you wonder where the hole in our budget came from? What our tax money is being used for? Well, consider this. We are building 2 power stations in Mpumalanga, one at Midupi and the other still being built at Kusile. Total cost 300 billion rand. Yet, we have an excess of generating power. So why are we still building the second one? One thing we know for certain is that the ANC made a cut from the power station deal. Hitachi, who won the tender, paid a fine in the United States court. therefore acknowledging that it had paid an ANC front company, remember Chancellor House, over 70 million rand, including 12 million rand as a success fee. So Hitachi paid an ANC company to help it win a tender from the ANC government. The ANC then later sold its stake in Hitachi, but now we're left paying for the power stations. Jackson Mthembu, that was an immoral way of raising money. Even more immoral was that the chairperson of Eskom at that time was Vali Musa, a former cabinet minister who was also in the ANC fundraising committee. How do you account for all of that?
The ANC has never had a stake in Hitachi. Let's first start there.
Hitachi Power Africa?
The ANC has had a relationship with a company that was linked.
You are talking about Hitachi Power Africa, which had a relationship. No, but Mr. Mthembu, I must challenge you on this. Hitachi Power Africa had a relationship with Hitachi, so we can nitpick about it. The fact of the matter is that you had a 25% stake in Hitachi Power Africa.
The ANC never had a 25% in that company. That's the point I'm making. We might have had a relationship with Chancellor House, but we never had any. But that being said, it's the ANC that has gone to Parliament and said, we must be transparent on where we get our monies as political parties.
But in the
it's
US...
us who introduced that. It's us who introduced that thinking in Parliament last year.
But the fact of the matter is that there was wrongdoing that was admitted, fines were paid in the United States. To make amends, why has the ANC or Chancellor House, whoever, paid back that money?
Well, you can go and ask Chancellor House, because we are not Chancellor House. We are ANC. We are ANC, yes, we have the relationship with Chancellor House. As to
give him a chance, give him a chance. They can still hear you, carry on. At home, they can hear you.
As to who Chancellor House had a business with, that's another matter. But the fact of the matter, and this is factual, is us who went to Parliament last year and said, all political parties, is not good that they must be getting their monies from secret donors. Sure. And we are busy with that process now. There is a bill of Parliament to regulate donor funding to political parties.
The fact of the matter is that, true, my vote counts took this matter to court. The Western Cape High Court ruled in my vote counts' favor. The DA was the only party, the only one, to oppose that application. Why?
I think it's quite simple. One of the problems is, you know, when you look at party funding as a whole and the system of government that we have at the moment, it is so impossible for a political party to get funding from a corporation because they are so scared that if the governing party finds out that they've given money to another political party, any contracts that they have will be taken away from them. The ex-president himself, in your intro video, was on saying it is a good idea to do business with the ANC. So here's the thing, we have to fundamentally break the way governments being viewed as the service provider to the country, and the fact that the ANC sees themselves as the economic service provider.
But here they are saying they're supporting transparency, and they've said so in Parliament.
Certainly once their hand has been forced, as in everything, once a hand is forced, then you have no choice but to go to Parliament and propose a law like that. But it's taken a hand being forced. What we need to look at is how do you balance party political funding with your right of association and your right of privacy, with the necessary accountability and transparency that every South African deserves.
The UDM is nodding. What are you saying?
Well, look, when it comes to this matter, we've been tilting at this windmill for a very long time. As far back as 2011, even way before then, before I even joined the party leader was very strong on this issue of saying we must regulate private funding and party funding in general. I remember in 2011 when I was still his researcher and speechwriter, he was part of an IDASA debate where there was the SG of the ANC, who's now the current chairperson of the ANC, was opposed to regulating party funding at the time. He was not even interested to introducing a bill in Parliament, as the ANC did last year. So I agree entirely with Mazwana when she's saying that their hand was forced. It's simply because of President Zuma's bad leadership, their private sources of funding have dried up. So they have no choice now but to go to the public sector and get money there to be able to fund their campaigns. It's simple as that.
I mean, that court ruling, it's still a victory for democracy, isn't it? My vote counts. You took the matter to court because you felt very strongly about it, or because there was so much resistance politically?
Yes, so initially we actually wrote to Parliament and wrote to the Speaker saying, you know, this is an important issue and we need this regulation. And were fobbed off, basically. And that's when we went to court. So people tend to think we like to litigate. That's not the case. There simply was no political will within Parliament to draft this kind of legislation, and that's why we went to court. It's very important for transparency and accountability, not only with regards to political parties, but the role that political parties play in our electoral system. So it will enable greater transparency and accountability in our electoral system as well, and in that way increase trust in our democracy.
Speaking of electoral system, there's a young man who wanted to talk about direct interaction, access and voting for our representatives. Go ahead, please. Tell us who you are.
Is Katlago Motlagodisa, the SGO Forum for Service Delivery. We are on the view that the current system, electoral system, is biased and is not favoring the voters because it talks more about proportional representative. So that the ANC said they are recalling their president, but their recall was unconstitutional. Hence they had to support the motion of the EFF to apply the Constitution of South Africa. So on the view that the system of electoral act must change and focus on the constituency based, because the ANC is using the proportional representation so that they can deploy their exile members to come and lead and loot from the system.
Okay, you want to respond? I'm coming to Danny just now.
Correct.
Sure.
Cyril Ramaphosa is not from exile. Let's just make that correction. But secondly, you know, in 2007, as you will know, in Polokwane, the ANC itself said we must regulate party funding in its conference.
But you say a lot of things, but you do very little of it.
We are saying the political will was there at conference. It's the implementation that lagged. But that implementation has come in now from last year. So at least give us credit. Okay. That's
Tom. Okay. Tom Ngosi, why does this matter? Why does this matter that we know who's funding political parties? We heard you in that clip there talking about the water crisis, emphatically saying politicians are benefiting from that.
Yeah, it matters that we should know who's actually giving money to our leaders. Because what we have observed in most instances is that even organizations themselves are very worried where a leader of a party becomes even richer than the party itself. And this is because there is no regulation, there's no transparency, we do not know what is going on. But what we have also observed is that if you elect people based on the proportional representation system, what happens is that you are actually giving a license to a few individuals to take decisions and to do everything. And it's easier to buy fewer individuals than to buy many people. So it is going to be important if this electoral system can change so that people can go there on the basis of their constituency. And it will be easier to recall. We have seen how difficult it was to remove an elephant.
Would you support electoral reform, direct representation, direct voting for our president?
As ANC, you'll know that we will support anything that appeals and that strengthens our democracy. Anything.
Do you think something like that would strengthen our democracy?
But you will know, we have just been to Ghana, where they have this system. As you'll also know, we have also been to the UK, to the USA, where they have this system.
You're traveling a lot.
No, we have not been there. we have not. I'm saying countries that have that system. Countries that have that system inadvertently also reduces parties that can also participate in a democracy.
Mr. You only have
two parties in Ghana. You have got 2 parties in the UK, 2 parties in the USA. All other parties are wiped out because of the constituency-based
You're saying it's not true,
No,
Natasha?
that's absolutely not true. In South Africa, we're a mature enough democracy to have a hybrid system where we can have a proportional vote that would ensure a multi-party thriving democracy. But what we want to see is, I would like South Africans to look at me and say, when they go and vote, do I think Natasha Mazzoni served me well as an MP? Yes or no? And based on that, they make their vote. Because how else am I personally held accountable?
We're going to hear from Dalimpo, Fumakosi Khoza, and the audience, the UDM as well. We're coming back in just a moment. We've got to go to the markets. When we return, we ask young people what kind of party they would like to join, if any. See you now. Welcome back to the Big Debate live on SABC2 and SAFM, also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. We're also taking your calls. You just buzz us for a call back. Now, do the party lists contain people you have confidence in? Do you feel you can remove them if they betray you? If not, why not? I do want to pick up on what we were talking about earlier about electoral reform. The ANC is arguing that smaller parties would not survive unless we had the system that we had now. It was designed to accommodate them. What do you say?
No, that's a cop-out. That is not true. As we speak now, at the local government level, we have a hybrid system where we have direct representation and proportional representation. So why are they resisting it? It's because they all want to hide behind the party. They want to hide behind the history of the party, and there must be no face, so that people must indirectly find themselves voting for a crook like Jacob Zuma because they are voting for, supposedly voting for the ANC. What we say as the EFF, and we've said this from the beginning, you'll find it on paragraph 84 and 85 of our founding manifesto, is that the current electoral system is based on power, secrecy, and lack of transparency. And those are the enemies of making sure that the people's voice is heard. And any electoral reform must make sure that it protects us as citizens from those. Because what happens is that incumbency is rewarded. If you are the ANC, simply because you got 60% in the last election, throughout the 5 years, you're going to get 60% of the funding. We went to court, and I hope that new parties like ADEC will take this up as well. We went to court in 2013, and we said 2014 election, and we said new parties must also be funded before they even prove themselves in parliament. Okay. Obviously, there are ways in which that can be done. You might say, for example, you must show a membership of so many, okay, so that you don't have some parties like some of these Nyawope parties that
Carry on, we can pick
Frankly, the hybrid system works. For example, as you know, ADEC is not a political party as such. We are a civil society movement, but that is registered as a political party for the purposes of fighting an election, so that we synergize and we leverage on our strength as smaller Nyana parties. In local government, you have Forum for Service Delivery, you have MCA. They have seats in municipalities. You have UCFG. They have seats in parliament. And the only reason why the ANC fears the proportional representation system, it's because they know that most of the people that they have in their list are not credible people. Okay. They are amoral and immoral characters.
Okay, let's go to the gentleman.
Talking about the constituency,
okay,
not a
yes, carry on, sir.
The system that we have now is leading South Africa down the drain. There's going to be a revolution in South Africa that is facing the eyes of this nation. And unfortunately, almost all people in South Africa are captured. Very few people who have the living conscience, who lift the banner of the living conscience. I want to side also the churches are quiet. I don't know whether the churches are also captured. Captured by the beast. The living conscience belongs to God, okay, not to men. It cannot be a political conscience.
Right.
If it is a political conscience, it belongs to the beast.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's hear from the UDM. Let's hear from the UDM. Okay, let's hear from the UDM.
It's very simple here. Remember Van Sales Lab. In fact, Chief Jackson, the chief whip of the ANC, knows that his government took a decision in March 2002. They put together that commission. Yep. In that the Van Sales Lab at one, where they produced the report in 2003 in January, where they were proposing a mixed system between proportional and constituency-based system. I don't know why we haven't implemented it. The other issue here, which is very critical, is that, remember, this system has created a disconnect between voters and the elected. That's why you had students up in arms marching and protesting about fees must fall issues that we should have easily picked up as politicians and political parties if we had allowed young people to ventilate their issues internally in those organizations. Okay. If we had allowed people to hold us to account for failures to represent them properly in the National Assembly. Now you have an African National Congress. I wish to make this point. That is celebrating because it has announced fees must fall, but most of the people who are fighting for that are still languishing in jail.
I think it's terribly important that we also remember that the IEC plays a crucial role in all of this. We have to fight tooth and nail for an independent electoral commission, because when things start going wrong, it starts going wrong on voting day. The IEC is very much going to be the overseer of political party funding, and we must make sure as political parties that the IEC remains just that, an independent electoral commission.
Okay, we'll come back to Delta in just a moment. We'll hear from you. And I do want to revisit party funding, finding out whether parties here today are willing to reveal their funders, right? Have our political parties betrayed us? Is there a way to restore our faith in politics? You're watching the big debate. Welcome back to the big debate, a noisy big debate on political parties. We are live on SABC2 and SAFM. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. You send us your comments and join us for a second hour of discussion online at 8 p.m. Now, in 1994, 86% of eligible voters went to the polls and Mandela's ANC was elected. In 2014, the number is down to 57%. So basically, 3 out of 10 voters have stopped voting. How do we restore faith in our electoral system? How do we make sure our politicians actually represent us? Let's have a show of hands. How many of you say our political parties actually represent us? Eh? Come on, nobody? Yes, just a few. So how many people will be voting for one of these parties in the next elections? One of them. Okay. And what about young people in their 20s? There's a party of your choice. You know who you're going to vote for and what they stand for. But Natasha, because you are the biggest political party, you are the biggest opposition party. Let's leave the EFF for a moment. They've got very robust support here. The fact of the matter, looking at these statistics, is that young people are not actually moving from one party to another. A lot of them are rejecting the political system. So your message is not resonating with them. What will you do to attract them? Will you be more democratic? Will you be more transparent?
I think you make a very good point. Clearly something is not working, and it's because I think as politicians, what we've done in Parliament is we've let the electorate down. That what they've seen in Parliament has not impressed them, and for very good reasons. I think, and I've said this many times in Parliament, it's up to us as young politicians to re-earn the trust of the electorate. We have to prove to them why politics is so important, why the ultimate sacrifice was made so that many of them could vote. And we actually have to look at what young South Africans need from us as political parties. So what this means is we need to open up debate like we're having tonight. We have to go to the people, listen directly to the people, and there has to be
You threw Patricia de Lille out and we're still confused about why you did it and how we did it. How democratic was that?
Let me tell you, that's accountability in its most transparent form, because the sheerest hush, the slightest rumor of any corruption, and out you go. Herman Mashaba, the other day, he referred himself to the Ethics Committee of Johannesburg because there was a rumor about his wife. The Sowetan who published that have published an apology. But Herman himself took the initiative to refer himself to
But
the
I mean,
ethics
come on,
committee.
Natasha, you're talking about going back to the people, finding out what the people want. You've had plenty of opportunity as the DA to hear what people want and fix it. Activists in the Western Cape want the Tafelberg site to be used for low-cost housing. There's the Democratic Alliance selling it to the Phyllis Jewell Jewish Day School for 135 million rand. How do we know that those people are not your donors? How do we know that the development and construction companies are not your donors?
I hear what you're saying, but that case is in court, so the courts will rule on it. But that particular school was, it was zoned as an educational area. A school approached the provincial government. It was a
school with
provincial
lots of money?
Yes, it was a school with lots of money. And that money has been used by the Western Cape to build provincial housing and to rectify the social wrongs of the past.
Don't poor people have the right to, you know, the sea views and all that's beautiful in Cape Town?
Without a doubt. And that's why social housing is taking priority in the city of Cape Town and so many houses are being built.
Do you believe her? Delta, wait, Delta, I mean, Jackson is talking about a period of renewal in the ANC. He's given us examples which are true about investigations, arrests, and so on. Does that give you confidence? Will you be giving them a chance?
Yeah, I think the answer is no. As my colleague, Honorable National Chairperson of EFF, Dalimpof indicated, you can ask the ANC, after 1984, how many conferences did they held and took some resolution? None. They just go to conference after 5 years, they resolve. As indicated now, say they've got the 50th conference, which they took some decision, they are going to arrest, blah, 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 nothing.
But the president in his State of the Nation address announced all sorts of summits with civil society. There was talk about land and all of that. People are being arrested. That's not action in your view?
Yeah, the president is just a stock taker.
Stock taker?
Yes, a stock taker. Ramaphosa is a stock taker. He was a politician, a businessman. He's a president now. He was just taking the stock.
Okay.
Have a look. Let me give an example. Have a look. He just why I'm saying the stock taker. You must understand, I know Sir Ramaphosa long time ago. Why? Remember when he opened the sauna, he was using the so-called laptop because he was taking the stock. Okay? It's a stock taker.
Okay.
I don't think
all right, we'll come to that. Jackson. Let's listen to the response. You're talking for the okay, I'm going to come to him in just a moment. Will you, as the EFF, reveal your funders? I mean, we saw an image. There's this image that does the round of your commander-in-chief with some Lord Resnick Mangmang. What was that about? Would you reveal who's funding you?
Well, yes, we do. Let me tell you, for example, that image you are talking about, we revealed it, us. We sent it out ourselves. So all the parties should take advantage, stock from that. Because what we are saying is that for political parties who get money in secret, it does not matter even if that money was well-meaning. The mere fact that people want to hide, and that's why we differ with the approach of the DA, that says people will be scared. Of course, people will be victimized, but people must there are ways in which that can be mitigated. For example, in the current legislation, it is said that companies must put money in a pool, and then that central fund then gets distributed according to party size and so on. Of course, the ANC wanted to have the lion's share of that money, but we defeated them in Parliament by making sure that the proportions are not going to be only loaded on the historical vote. So there are ways of mitigating those things. You can't sacrifice transparency on the altar of fear. The ANC really is just playing games with us. This so-called euphoria of Cyril Ramaphosa, this, and blaming Zuma is just made up because it was not Zuma who voted just now in Nasrec for the following people to be in their leadership: Faith Mutambi, Batabile Dlamini, Zwane, the whole shoot, all the people that are corrupt to the core were voted by the Malusi Kigaba Nochal. All those people who are rotten to the core, were voted by the ANC membership.
Okay.
So it's the structure, it's the ANC
We have to
itself
give the
that is
ANC.
problem.
We have to give the ANC a right of reply in just a moment, and also asking for my vote count whether we've seen examples of policy being influenced by who has the money, who makes policy, and in whose interest is it made. Now, when we return, a last word from our panel, and asking the question: have the party leaders been listening? We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to the big debate. We're live on SABC2 and SAFM. Now, don't forget, this debate is not ending. When this show ends on television and radio, the discussion continues on Facebook and YouTube. So stay with us online and give us your views. But first, let's hear what our panel has taken away from today's discussion. 20 seconds each. We'll start with you, Delta.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Delta,
time. Yes, as politicians, we are. Our message is that we are assuring that 2019 next year, EFF, DA, Mama Koseni, UDM, and other DA will take over this government. And we call upon every South African to wake up and let's go and vote. For EFF. For all parties and EFF.
Janine? Closing comments from you. We're running out of time. Closing comments.
I just want to say that I think your question at the beginning about why there's a reduction in the number of voters since 1994 is a very important one. And it speaks to the fact that we are in danger of delegitimizing our electoral system, because the fewer people vote, the less legitimate that electoral system will be. And for me, one of the reasons that happens is because very often, and I want to say this with the political parties here, is that political parties speak to the public around election time. And as soon as elections are over, they only speak to their members. And they make statements about how they are accountable to their members. And I don't think that is fair, because the people that vote for you are not just your members. The numbers that vote for political parties are far greater.
Okay.
And that has to stop.
We got it. UDM, closing arguments quickly.
An important role that once you are a public representative, you play. You're not a public representative for just your constituency, but for the people of South Africa. We do that very well as the United Democratic Movement. I think we should push with this electoral reform to make sure that the system is more responsive to the people of South Africa, that we're accountable to them. We don't account just to political parties, because that's where the problem is. We are the only party in South Africa, I can say that categorically and confidently, that is not captured. We can open our books anytime to anyone because we don't have private funders.
Okay, we're running out of time now. Kosi, very quickly.
Well, very quickly, ADEC is here to disrupt the traditional political system. We are going to be allowing women and the youth to enter that space in parliament, and we are not aligned to any political party.
Okay, DA, quickly, few seconds.
They stole our money. They now expect us to pay it back by paying higher taxes. It's not going to happen. We as South Africa need to fight back. If Cyril Ramaphosa is serious about getting out corruption, let's get rid of ministers like Lynn Brown and a whole lot of them. Let's show the country we're serious about getting rid of rot.
Quickly. You've got to listen. Let's listen to them. Otherwise, they're not going to have time.
I just want to remind South Africans that the power, the real power, is not in politicians. It is with the people. And the people are the ones who will be able to fire the corrupt people. The people of Johannesburg, of Tshwane, of Nelson Mandela Bay showed us. So don't be fooled. Those people of those places are still getting their social grants. So don't listen to these people. Take their food parcels, but you must vote properly.
Jackson. Carry on, please. Carry on. Closing argument.
We are recharged. We are re-energized. We are ready. We have started confronting corruption that has indeed messed up our country. Secondly, we will outlaw as part of the bill that is before Parliament, any foreign funding to our political parties in the country. Because how do you get foreign funding? Those foreign funders, what is in their interest? Secondly, we will disallow, through that bill before Parliament, any funding that comes from government to parties outside of the IEC, outside of that central democratic fund that all all those who want to contribute towards democracy can contribute.
We'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. We continue online. We continue online on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for your comments. It's the end of this debate on SABC2. See you next week.
Parties.
So we continue our debate, and we are talking about party political funding. We're talking about in whose interest is policy being made. We're talking about democracy within our political parties. And in this segment of our broadcast, remember, we are online. You can continue to engage with us. I'm really keen to hear from our audience members, especially young people, because this is your democracy. Where is my microphone? Everything that you've just... There we go. Go ahead, sir. Tell us who you are and what you want to say.
Hey guys, my name is Tebogo. I'm from Equal Education. So the point I wanted to highlight here is that the main reason we have a divided country is that we have too much political parties. I heard you talking about the system whereby you wipe out other political parties, but then why not merge with other political parties? Because you guys have the same goal. Understand? Because now you'd say that there is
Wait.
You'd say that
Give him a chance. Give him a chance. Give him a chance.
Listen, guys. The main point, the main reason I'm doing this point is that, in terms of local government, your local councillors and stuff, we have what councillors? You understand? What councillors from the EFF?
I think let's take the point that you made, that why don't they merge because they want the same goal. I mean, I listened to Makosi, I listened to Dali, I listened to you, Delta. You guys could come around, Mr. Nkwankwa here, you can come around the table and find some commonality that would build one party. Would you do that?
To be honest with you, I think what we are about, and I said this, we are a civil society movement. We are not necessarily married to a particular ideology. And we are allowing any other person, whether you are EFF and you want to fight from your constituency, you've got to be accountable to your constituency.
Sure. Mr. Mbof, I mean, there are areas in which you work together as opposition parties, but there's no reason to necessarily merge. We've seen you, the EFF, criticizing and disagreeing with the DA, even though you've got coalitions in certain metros. We've heard you also criticizing them. So there is a way in which you're working together, but there's not going to be a merger. Can we answer that, young man?
No, certainly there's not going to be a merger. I think that in South Africa in particular, remember that ours is an ideological stance. We don't, the way we differ with the ANC is not on small issues. It is fundamental. It is, there are three schools of thought, if I can say this very briefly. There's three schools of thought. One is the one represented by the DA, which is what we call neoliberalism, free market, and so on and so on. And then there's something represented by the ANC, which they call the developmental state. That is another form of capitalism. We say that we must have a state-led intervention that is going to get us out of this morass, because the problems that were created by apartheid and colonialism were historically created by people in power. So they're not going to suddenly be resolved by the Holy Spirit or the free market. They are going to be resolved by a state that intervenes in the interest of the poor and in the interest of the working class.
All right, we'll come to you just now, Natasha, but Janine, we're not going to be able, it's not in your interest to not hear your panelists, because the time that I would otherwise dedicate to the audience, I would have to give to them, because you're not giving them a chance to speak. So let's just go to you, Janine. Are all these political parties here, well, except for Makosi, who's a civil society movement, are all these political parties in trouble? Let's going back to that statistic. Are people moving away from political parties? Is there a way in which they can regain legitimacy if they've lost it?
I think you know, the issue is also linked to the issue we were talking about, or the fact that it's the youth that's not voting. And the reason I think that the youth is not voting is because the youth accesses information much more quicker and readily than older people. So maybe if you're an older person that's at home, you may only know about what's going on within a political party when you hear the news on the radio, or maybe when somebody comes around at election time. But the youth is constantly consuming all these issues related to political parties, whether it's around corruption, whether it's around mismanagement, the statements that people make that represent political parties, how political parties behave in parliament, the positions they take, in some court cases, some of the arguments that political parties, take on certain issues, and they're readily consuming this, and they're making decisions. They're saying this politics doesn't work.
But Jackson, I want to go back to your first question when we started, for your first answer, where you talked about how the wheels of justice are moving slowly. Hearing this, the youth is consuming news very fast. They want resolution very quickly. Does that mean you are holding on to those archaic old ways of doing things? Will you move with the times as the ANC?
No, definitely we have to. We must move with the times so that we bring confidence to our people on the dividends of democracy. If we move too so slowly, yes, people indeed, like you have said, might say that this democracy doesn't serve them. This democracy doesn't help them. Therefore, we'll have to move with speed in dealing with all matters that are before us, matters, as I have said, matters of service delivery, matters of people taking advantage of our poor. As it has been said in Bushbuckridge, you create an artificial problem of not having water so that you can then bring water through to...
If you don't have a microphone, we're not going to pick you up. It's just disruptive. So let's just wait a little.
So we are saying we must move with speed to deal with all those issues. We are in agreement.
All right, let's go. UDM? Yeah.
Well, it's a matter of when you talk to you young people, even if you were to look at the manifestos of most political parties, we deal with the challenges of young people the same way that your liberal economists would deal with redistribution, where we talk about trickle-down economics. You'll find that challenges that face young people are mentioned as an afterthought, more towards the end of the document. They remember that there's a constituency called youth that we must attend to. Those of us who are young in our organizations need to challenge that and change that going forward so that we become more responsive.
Will you challenge your president?
Of course,
for the
I challenge him all the time. We disagree all the time. In fact,
for the position of president.
I beg your pardon?
For the position of president.
No, that is up to the party structures, not up to me.
The lady here, please, you've got the microphone. You've got the microphone. Carry on, please. Carry on, please. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Vincentia. I'm from Eldorado Park, and I'm the exec of the Greater Eldorado Park Civic. My question to the platform is, I listened to everybody speaking about transparency taking place within political parties and everything. What about the rural and township communities? Why is there no transparency with regards to budgets and contracts coming into our communities? There is no transparency. Who are we then to you?
Okay, who wants to? I mean, that issue featured so strongly in our episode last week on Kolobe, and where an Australian mining company had rights, and the community felt that they were ignored. Mining was carrying on. The government was not coming in to listen to people. There were assassinations as well. So decisions being made about the people without the people. Are all these political parties guilty of that, Natasha?
Really, I think it's essential that we open the tender process completely. Corruption doesn't just start at the top. It's so endemic in our country. It's at the local level, it's at provincial level, it's at national level. So you start in the municipalities by opening up the tender process, making the bid process open so that communities know exactly who's getting the bids, who's doing it. We do it in Parliament too. And like you said, we're a fast-moving young economy that's moving forward. These things can be done online. It's not a question anymore of not being able to. We must go to the people. We must be able to take computers to civic centres so that people can log onto a computer and check who's got the tender for this process and make things as transparent as possible by taking the government to the people and not expecting people to always come to the government.
I want to go to the Mpumalanga situation. I think you touched on that in the first hour about the water disruptions, the contracts, the companies that are getting the tenders to fix the water. How endemic is that? Oh, the microphone, I beg your pardon. There we go. Let's bring you in here, Tom.
Yeah, well, Mpumalanga is the unofficial corruption capital. And So what happens there, as I've indicated, is that one of the biggest challenges, you will find tenders going to one and the same company all the time. There's lack of transparency, obviously. But what is developing there, a worrying phenomenon, is where you'd find that invoices, for example, from government are being paid for no work that has been done. You would realize that Mpumalanga province, for argument's sake, during Mandela's funeral, Mpumalanga province officially admitted that they've spent 70 million rand. So there was no funeral there. But to pay 70 million rand for commemoration. And some of the things that we have discovered are very shocking. And what is worrying, obviously, is that the law enforcement agencies have not moved into Mpumalanga. So there is no consequence for corruption there. It's known, actually. I'm sure you have heard. I mean, when was the last time you have heard of anybody being arrested in that province?
And you know, Jackson, here we are. You want us to believe in this new dawn. You want us to believe that there's been a change of leadership. You talk about the wheels of justice moving slowly. I am thinking about all these people who have died in Mpumalanga. I'm going to not even go as far back as the Bombela construction. Beg your pardon?
I'm saying also in KZN.
In KZN, sure.
If I was still there, I would be dead.
Yes, in KZN. But let me just stick with Mpumalanga because Delta is here. I use the example, and I'm not sure that, I don't think you spoke to it in detail, about Michael Pilembe, the one who was working for Public Works and was the deputy chair of a branch, Ward 23. He said that in Pinar, in particular, there was a list, a secret list of 10 companies that were to be allocated tenders. He also spoke about assassins being paid to influence the allocation of tenders. What I'm saying to you, Jackson, with tears in my eyes, is that some of these things don't need processes and bureaucracy and pontification and debate. Why don't you just go in there and clean it up to show that you care for these people?
That's exactly what we need to do. If what you are saying indeed is the first time that I'm hearing of some of the allegations that have been made here, if it is indeed true that these things have happened, I agree entirely with the sentiments that you have expressed, that we just need to go in there and clean up.
Okay, Delta?
No.
It's a new dawn, Delta. They're coming to clean up.
Yeah. Well, no. It's not. I think the Honorable Jackson Tembu don't think he's talking the truth. Why? You must ask yourself, who's David Mabuza? You must know him. First of all, you must understand, who is David Mabuza?
He's the deputy president
He's
of the
the deputy
ANC?
president, and he was the former mayor. As my colleague indicated, can you ask the ANC how many people in Mpumalanga were arrested? 0. Currently, I'm speaking, there is a hospital now which commenced last year, Mapulane Hospital, without going to be erected. Even now, there is no foundation. Millions of rents are gone. That one
What? Dali, come in?
Yeah. No, I was going to say, you know, in fairness, I think we've all been attacking Mr. Mtembu. I think for once I agree with him. We need to clean up. We must clean up the ANC out of our system.
Okay, let's go to the audience here.
Okay. Kokoloti from Lekgotla.
Stand up, please, so the camera can get you.
Okay. My name is Kokoloti. I'm the leader of Lekgotla. This is the constituency. Gentlemen, it's not only Mpumalanga. All the ladies and gentlemen, all the provinces. And corruption is not a mistake. Corruption is not a result of some lapse. Corruption is an agenda intentioned in the ANC. Yes. So we can't discuss it right now. What we need is a new order in this country. Yes. And what happened? Wait. The 11 million people who sat out the last elections, it's a resounding vote of no confidence in current politics. So what we need to do as a nation, we cannot depend on the ANC. They don't have answers. And they have not had answers for the past 25 years. All they do today, all they do today is give us excuses. And let me tell you, Ramaphosa is an instrument for concealment of the crimes. But what we need to do is let's go crowdfund for the Khotla because it's the only credible alternative in this country. We carry the masses.
I'm going to give you a chance, Jackson. I'm going to give you a chance to defend your president. We've got to listen. We've got to give him a chance to speak, yes?
You know, all that we would like to raise, where there is wrongdoing, this ANC will not close its eyes now.
Anymore.
We will not close our eyes to any wrongdoing.
Yeah.
Where there is corruption, indeed the president has been on record saying that where there is corruption, we will move in and deal with any corrupt activity. Immaterial.
They're saying it's too late. They're saying it's too late.
Immaterial who is involved. People will not hide behind political office for having done wrong things. We will move in. There is political will, Comrade Mamre. There is political will now.
Okay.
Indeed, there might not have been political will before. There is political will to move in.
Let's just talk about the elephant in the room, because Didi's name keeps coming up, Ace Makashule's name keeps coming up, and we can't pretend they're not there. We know they haven't been found guilty by a court of law, but we also know that there's been a weakening of investigative capacity and institution, and it's overwhelming. We're seeing the evidence coming out of Parliament and so on. The Estina farm, we're seeing arrests and so on. That's why I said to you earlier, we're not seeing arrests of high-profile politicians. Let's just talk about these two. Are you not worried that they are in the highest echelons of ANC leadership? People don't trust their probity.
Let's just again.
I'm going to ban you from the big debate.
This country, in this country's laws, you are indeed innocent until proven guilty. That is. And having said that, we have said as ANC, immaterial what office you hold, where there is any indication and proof or allegation of wrongdoing on your part, there is nobody who's going to protect you. So I would therefore not like to speak on any individual in my move, including Jackson Tembu. If there is any wrongdoing that is pointed at Jackson Tembu, Jackson Tembu will have to answer.
But do you not see the money? I hear what you're saying about court processes, and we can get into a debate about legal truths and moral truths. We don't have time for that. But for a matter to go to court, the investigators must do their job.
True.
So there is a chance that when they're not doing their job, the matter will not go to court, which doesn't mean that thing that is wrong has not happened. As the ANC, when you wake up to headlines of money disappearing, of people not having water, of people being assassinated, I mean, what do? Do you just fall asleep and say, we're waiting for the courts? Don't you have processes yourself where you identify wrongdoing and clamp down on it?
You will know that we are a citizen as well as a party. We also rely on these instruments that we have created through our democracy to investigate and get deeper into any allegations of wrongdoing. The ANC doesn't have that capacity. The ANC doesn't have the capacity of the Hawks. The ANC doesn't have the capacity of the South African Police Service. Therefore, we also rely on the state instruments to investigate any wrongdoing. All we are saying, we will allow these state instruments that are tasked with this task to do their work without any fear or favor.
Why are you disagreeing? That sounds reasonable. No. Carry on. That sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable. Oh, you've got a mic. That sounds reasonable.
No, it's definitely not reasonable. I mean, Jackson cannot come here and tell the viewers that they act on allegations. If they do that, there's a man called Bongo. There's an affidavit from...
That's your minister, sir.
He's not my minister. He's yeah. There's a man called Vanara, an advocate, who put an affidavit, sworn affidavit, and say Bongo tried to bribe me. What was the reward? He gets elected into the NEC. There is Lynn Brown, who has lied to Parliament. Those are leaders of the ANC. There's Batabile Dlamini, the less said, the better.
There's Masina.
There's Estina, there's Estina Zwane, there's Mahlobo, and those are people that they've made their leaders. And really.
Peters, Manana.
We're the ones laying the charge.
Our people are not stupid. Please,
we'll give you a chance to respond, Jackson. Sir, you've had the mic for a while.
Good evening. I'm Kululeko Ngwenya from AREC. I just want to make a plea to the sitting government of the ANC to do away with these commissions and inquiries and everything. The government must just, every person who does wrong, steals from the people, an inquiry is open. So we're just pleading to the sitting government to say, can the people that stole from our people be prosecuted in the court of law, have their day in court with whatever people have died in Esitimeni, inquiries there. People have died in Marikana, inquiries there. Can we just do away with these inquiries and focus on the court of law?
Hi, I'm Daniel from Pretoria, and I just would like to say to the ruling party, hundreds of people have died criminally and negligently under the ANC government. Millions more are due to corruption, without houses and without basic services. To invoke the rule of law to protect themselves is obscene. And so I would actually like to make a plea to the voters of South Africa. We don't need to talk to the politicians if they don't want to listen. We should punish them. No one needs to vote for a party just because. Let's punish the people who do not do their jobs properly.
I'm Yongama from the United Democratic Movement. First question, who elects people with questionable behavior and morals into their highest office in any political party? David Mabuza is questionable, ethics and all of that. Ace Magashule as well. They've been elected into the top 6 of the ANC. Then how do we as the electorate trust such a party? Secondly, on the issue that you've asked with, I needed to deal with that. Do we, does he going to, stand against the president? It is up to us as members. We've elected President Holomisa, and we are the ones who are going to say it is time to go in the next
20 years.
Whatever. Thank you.
What's the name of thank you very much, honorables.
All right, we're wasting time with the greetings. We've done that. Let's make the point.
That's fine. But now, my question is that I heard Mr. Jackson Tembu when he said something that when our president was raising something here, and he said there's artificially things, and I wanted to clarify me to say what is it that is it's an artificially on based to the president what was raising.
What the allegations that he's making,
yes, because now with the challenging that we are having there in Mpumalanga, now look at the situation that we're having. He said something with our hospital. Our hospital is moving to somewhere in 37. And last year there was a tender that was busy renovating the hospital. Now the hospital is moving again because of the packing. That is the only fact that the hospital is moving. Now they take the tender and give it to the I don't know where it is, the son of the of that one for what do you call it? The name of Robert Gumede. So Robert Gumede is now going to the one who's going to end over the tender somewhere the 37. You see. Okay. So now that is the only thing that we are having. That is the challenge. Thanks very much.
All right, Jackson, there's a lot that was directed at you. Answer whatever you can. I mean, in all fairness, though, or in your defense, you've had electoral conferences or national conferences. You've had a change of leadership as the ANC. And we know far more about what goes on in your party because you are the party in government than we do about these other parties. So for all we know, there's a lack of democracy there as well.
By the way, we said when we started here that there has been a national grievance in our country. And that grievance has been centered around a narrative called state capture, where everybody, be it churches, be it civil society, be it political parties, all people said, we have a state that is captured.
Because it is.
Of course, we are in agreement. Even Parliament started under our guidance to investigate these state-owned entities that are captured. But we have even done more. We are not saying that South Africa does not have a right to call us to order. But all we are saying, we have started acting. You have a commission of inquiry headed by a deputy chief justice that will be going into all matters of corruption as articulated by outgoing public protector in her report. We are also saying that any allegations, and this is what we have said through the president, any allegations of corruption and allegations of wrongdoing by anybody, immaterial what the standing of that person is, that will be investigated. In fact, the Hawks have started to investigate many wrongdoings in our country.
I have to just make this point very clear. The Hawks are investigating because opposition parties went and laid charges. The ANC never laid charges against their own members. It was the opposition parties that went and laid criminal charges against these individuals.
You know, Mr. Mthembu, I do want to give you a chance, but I must challenge you on this. You're saying that there are investigations, things are changing, you agree there's state capture, but we've had run-ins in debates and when it was evident and it was clear that this is happening. The fact of the matter is that you come to the party when it's way too late. The ANC's immediate response to state capture through your former Secretary General Gwede Mantashe was there is no state that is captured. Nobody's captured, just a few individuals. So the point that I'm making is that if you want to demonstrate that you actually listen to the people, that entails acting at the right time, not when it's too late.
We did act. Of course, we could have done better. We did institute the inquiry in Parliament, together with other parties, by the way, as a parliamentary contribution to deal with this narrative. But more than that, by the way, the ANC, even the Secretary General that you're talking about, has been saying, let us implement the recommendations of the public protector, which basically said, let's institute a judicial commission of inquiry into state capture. We might have taken quite some time to do so, but what we know now, what is factual, is that there is a judicial commission of inquiry into corruption in South Africa.
Post-Zuma, right? Post-Mr. Zuma. But what do you say to the sentiment that has been expressed by many people in our country that perhaps the ANC must fall in order for it to be reborn, in order to rise again?
Probably one of the things that the ANC needed to self-correct on, and the self-correct, by the way, came from the organization. It said people are losing confidence in us because first, we take too long to act on issues. Secondly, at times people think that we are not listening. At times people think that we have become too arrogant to listen.
Yes, they are right.
You don't. Therefore, the organization itself, in this conference that we are coming from, said as one of its resolutions, we must act firmly, act very tough on corruption. Immaterial was involved.
Okay, Makosi, you were there. You were there. You're saying they don't listen.
No, they don't. Let me tell you something. How many times was I called to Lutuli House to be told that you need to shut up about your conscience? How many times? Jackson Mthembu himself, Jackson Mthembu himself labeled me with as a gross ill-disciplined cadre because I was saying corruption is eating the soul of the party. Jackson fought me. Where is this resurrection coming from now? Why only now?
Okay.
Where we take the point is that we should have acted quicker. That's where we take the point. But we don't take remorse in a member of the ANC who attacks the organization that has sent her to no party, including the EFF, including the DA. No party will allow its own public representative. No party will allow that. Any of these parties will not allow any public representative to go in a public platform and attack the party.
Okay, so wait. Mr. Mthembu, surely we need to make a distinction between an attack and critique, self-reflection. It seems to me that you are a ruling party that is way too tender. You fall apart when you are being criticized. And I will say that when the criticism comes from your members, that's when it's a gift for you to use to build your party. So why are you so paranoid? Why are you so sensitive that criticism is an attack?
Well, we are not sure whether we are talking about criticism. Any party here, and particularly the ANC, would accept being criticized terribly internally, all of us. And by the way, we also have constitutions. We have constitutions as parties here that we must respect as well. The ANC has a constitution. It says that as a party member, if you are aggrieved by anything that this movement is doing, raise it internally and sharply. In fact, I'm one of those. I'm one of those that has raised sharply issues around the president. I've raised sharply these issues, and indeed I've not raised those issues sharply outside.
What does it matter where you raise them? What does it matter?
In a manner that
there is something I need to make about women, how women get treated in the ANC.
Okay. Exactly. Even to, let's just ask Mr. Mthembu. Let's ask Mr. Mthembu very nicely. If you had two members, one of them is looting the state with his son, and is bringing the party into disrepute. The other one then points out that, so which one do you harass? You harass the one who's pointing out, and the one who's looting the state must not be humiliated. Please, don't give us that.
EFF, I'll come to you just now. Yeah, carry on, speak.
My name is Nantsigalelo Nkosi. I represent the EFF Student Command.
Speak up, please. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not Chief Kasi. Anyway, so the only comment I wanted to make was to just call out the Chief Whip on his lying. Because for them to say that the wheels of justice are slow is just a plain lie. 9 years ago, before the president even came in, the former president came in, there were already 726 cases of corruption against him. That's an indicative that this man is going to be corrupt, but they just ignored that because it wasn't in their favor. But when in instances when it isn't in their favor, for instance, in instances like fees must fall, the next morning at 5 a.m. you'll find police on campus, because in instances when it's not for them, justice is very fast to move. In instances like in Marikana, people were killed very quickly because it wasn't something that was in their favor. So they must be honest and not say that the wheels of justice are slow. They must say that they're just corrupt and they want to protect themselves.
Comment here. We're coming to you next, Makosi.
Thank you to get this opportunity. Thank you to get this
Okay, hold
opportunity.
on. Let's listen. Let's listen. We can't hear because everyone is speaking over you, and then it's going to be as if we didn't give you a chance, but they're just not listening. Please carry on.
My name is Regina Mtsimkulu. It's few things that I want to say. ANC is too late to clean up. They've been lying to us over and over and over and over and over. Thanks.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm Khoroka Muswani, the youth president of Lekgotla for Democracy Advancement. One thing for sure that I want to tell you guys here. We are not here to entertain these guys. It's long enough been watching them in the television and telling us lies. Enough is enough. It's about
So
time.
all politicians, in your view?
All of them, all the parties that are within the parliament, they are liars. Now listen to one thing. No. Listen to one thing.
Wait.
Listen to one
Give him a
thing.
chance.
Now we are talking a direction. We are talking people are corrupt. How about, oh sorry, let me tell you something now.
Okay, wait. Hold on. They are challenging you.
It's all right.
They are
the small boys. It's all right.
Okay, don't.
They are the small boys.
They are challenging you.
They are the small boys.
Okay, I think we're going to have to make a decision. We're going to have to make a decision that some of you must leave the debate. We're going to have to make that decision because it's airtime that is being wasted. You're not listening to the people who've taken the time to come here on a Saturday evening to speak. So let's agree, if you want to be in the debate, let's be robust. You can speak, but not as much as you disrupting. May I appeal to you? I don't want to chase anyone else out. Can we give him a chance?
All right, thank you. Now, we are talking about order in our country.
What are you proposing, quickly?
Okay, I'm proposing that South Africans must take a lead, must take a step and come up with a new political parties. Not all these people, because the very same EFF and ANC, they are coming from the very same river, the crocodiles of the same river. We know that.
Speak. Are you reading?
Yes.
Are you reading your WhatsApp
no.
messages? Okay.
No. Good evening. My name is Yanga Tamela from this ward, which is led by ANC. I think that it is very incorrect to stand on national TV and say that EFF is gaining support because of the noise that they make. They are only making noise here. They have been making noise there. They make noise in parliament. They make noise everywhere, and they have no support. Two, Dr. Makosi Khoza. He was criticized. He was attacking the. He was.
Okay. Okay. Last point. Okay, last point.
Dr. Makosi Khoza and other comrades in the ANC were criticizing the president. Why was she the only one who resigned? Why is that? It is clear that she had a very good agenda to leave the ANC. I thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. We got you. In the mic. Wait. Okay. All right. I do want to hear from some more young people from the ANC in a moment, but Dr. Makosi Khoza, she is here and she wants to say something.
And let me tell you something. I'm unapologetic about being a feminist. And let me tell you what has happened with the ANC is that it really, when it comes to women, it is extremely harsh on women. Look at what happened to Dinah Pule. What did she do? We were able to remove her as the ANC, yet we could not remove Zuma, who was accused of rape and violating the very ANC constitution. And the reason why I chose to speak out, it's because the very leadership of the ANC was violating the ANC constitution. Even Jackson Mthembu knows I was actually fired by a study group that does not have constitutional powers to do so. And Jackson Mthembu endorsed that.
Okay? I'm coming to you next. Okay, let's give Jackson a chance to respond, then Mr. Mpofu, and then I'm coming to you.
Well, I think Comrade Makosi knows that she was facing a DC. But I think there are many things, Comrade Makosi, on your part and on our part that we can correct, so that all of us, move South Africa forward. And that's what I would like to say. There are many things. On your part, on hindsight, perhaps you could have done things differently. On our part,
my kids were going to be killed.
That's
Jackson.
why the Minister of Police said, let's give you protection, and Jackson. You declined the protection. You rejected the protection.
Died, Jackson.
But you rejected.
Where is Cindy Somagata, Jackson?
You rejected the protection from the Minister of Police.
Because it is
you refused.
Let me tell you, because the Hawks, let me tell you, the Hawks went into my house and told my son that I killed my husband. Please, Jackson.
All right, hold on.
No,
I think
you traumatized my children.
Okay,
I'm a mother.
And there are things that we could have done differently.
Okay, all right.
That's all I'm saying.
If you touch my children, you are touching me.
Okay. Just,
I'm a mother.
I think the point here, Jackson, is that people are finding it very difficult to move forward without accounting for past hurts. And they were personal and they were political as well. And if you haven't had accountability there, then it's unlikely you will build the future. Yes, Ms.
Really, one thing we must also remember, and everyone in this audience needs to know, when threats come to members of the opposition, or like what happened,
had them as well.
I had threats too. I don't want the Minister of State Security sending protection for me, because he is the person who tried to bribe the evidence leader in the committee that I'm sitting, from which I get threats. So I don't want that person protecting me. I don't want state security anywhere near me. I don't want them to know where I am. It's got to the point where I can't trust my own ministers. And quite frankly, if I saw a police vehicle approaching me, I would be more concerned than I would be, I'd feel safe. So when the government itself is turning on the people, you can't say, oh, well, we'll protect you. You've already failed to protect us when we spoke out.
Okay. And I mean, Delta, your headquarters were destroyed or something like that. Did you ever find out what happened there? Was it because you were speaking out?
Yeah, it was a sick joke.
A sick joke?
Yeah, it was a sick joke. The day, as I'm speaking now, I'm a leader of BRA. I'm a prisoner. I might go back to prison at any time. You know, what the ANC did, as Mama spoke, is that the MEC, former MEC Shongwe, Vusi Shongwe, now is the current MEC for Agriculture, was instructed by the ANC to come in Bushbuckridge to demolish our offices, arrest Delta, okay? Then they arrest, as I'm speaking now, we've got a pending case, almost 18 leaders of BRA that are still in jail by the ANC.
So
after that, after realizing that no, Didi Mabuza spent almost 3 million coming to Bushbuckridge, spending a lot of money bribing people to vote for them. Okay, they failed because Didi Mabuza never joined the ANC by then, but because I'm a senior to him, okay, with Jackson Mthembu by then. Okay, then after that, then they arranged a meeting. They went to my secretary, my former PNL secretary, Topas Manyunye, betrayed me. He went to Didi Mabuza, he went to Gumete, then they called me in Joburg here. I met Didi for the first time in my life to say I'm the oxygen. Then they want to give me, I'm going to be the speaker of municipality in Bushbuckridge. Klopas Maunye is going to be the deputy speaker. I say over my dead body.
So you were offered perks and position by Didi and a businessman.
Yeah,
basically.
After when I remember when we met the gourmet, the businessman. I remember when you go out, it was during the night. He gave us 20,000 to buy some sweets only to say, no, why 20,000? Let me give you something. The 20,000.
You're not going to hear. You are not going to hear.
That 20,000 was still good. There's 20,000 for sweets. Then we've already arranged that next week we are going to meet the big giant, Didi Mabuza. He's an evil man. Then he said, no, Delta, don't worry. Whatever we're seeing in Mpumalanga, those offices, those cars from me as an oxygen of Mpumalanga.
Okay.
Then next week, we are going to meet, we are going to make sure that we give you that position, make sure that no, you demolish bra. I said over my dead body.
So businessmen making political appointments, right? Sir, you've been standing up. What do you want to say?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Lucky Chandu. Okay, I just wanted to post this statement to all the leaders here that I've realized that only when we're about to approach the elections, that's when we start seeing you taking an action, fixing roads, infrastructures, doing service delivery. And after that, everything when it's done, you guys, you forget about South Africans. And secondly, South Africans, please bear me. I'm not xenophobic or anything. But I want to pose this question. I want to put this question direct to Jackson Mthembu. Since you are next to the president, that can you please you as ANC take an action with the level of corruption, crime, and whatever that the foreigners have come and brought in South Africa, especially in Johannesburg and all of that.
All
since
right.
you are next to the president.
Okay, wait. I'm coming to you just now. Dali, I do want you to respond to the accusation that you political parties come in and out of our lives. I mean, I know there was a case where EFF represented Dis-Chem workers and so on. How do you keep the engagement going? I don't know if you accept that criticism for the EFF. Is that true?
No, absolutely not. I mean, in the case of the EFF, of course, we engage with the electorate, we engage with communities, we take up struggles of communities on a daily basis. As I speak to you now, they are still theorizing, for example, about land expropriation without compensation. We have people who are actually taking over the land. And if they're going to be telling us about all these things about there must be food security, there must be this and the other, all the qualifications that Ramaphosa is giving, then we're not going to listen to that. Firstly, what we must understand is that 25 years, even if we were a patient people, 25 years surely is long enough. I mean, Jackson Mthembu says we must congratulate them because they took a decision in 2007, which they have not implemented now. And he says that they are going to be adapting and moving fast. Bye-bye, we must tell them they must go.
People must stop blaming ANC. Like, they are all the same.
Why? Tell me.
Order.
Why must people stop blaming the ANC? They are the party in government.
This is a business. We all know that politics is a business. They are making business here. What they must do, they must give kings and chiefs a land.
Okay. Let's hear.
Politics is a business.
Hold on. We want to hear. We want to hear from is there a young ANC leader in the audience, young ANC members who want to speak to you are, sir? Young. Okay, ANC. Okay, carry on.
Don't be confused about my
Speak
beard.
up, please, sir.
Good evening, everybody. This one goes to the DA. The DA are two-faced. They act as if they are against corruption. Herman Mashaba, for example, you lied and said Herman Mashaba, he himself went and said, I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and 4. But no, Herman was caught by Sowetan. Yes. Herman Mashaba was caught by Sowetan.
They retracted the story. They retracted and apologized. It's true. you're not going to get any comments under these circumstances. So let them shout. Okay, hold on. You are a young.
You should protect me.
You are a young ANC member. I want to hear what your hopes are for your party, why you still support the ANC. But do make your point. We're just correcting what you were saying, that the Sowetan retracted and said sorry.
No. Remember, we still need to hear from Mashaba and as well as the DA, as they act as if they are against corruption. They have not done it as so. To Delela as well. They have not done it.
Okay.
We cannot.
Sir, okay, we'll
cannot.
get the DA to respond. Do you want to talk, sir? Yeah?
Good evening. My name is Lazola.
Okay, carry on.
My name is Lazola. Basically, I'm against this whole notion that the ANC is all corrupt. I'd like to appeal to the youth in general as well. The ANC has got strong, good policies. One. Yes.
Listen,
yes.
hear him out, hear him out.
For an example, if you can analyze the EFF and other parties, because they are the opposition of the ANC, they do not consider the country at large. The ANC is a very big organization. It's a glorious movement, and
Is that why you support them? A glorious movement, great history.
We support the ANC because we understand that the ANC is very big, and there are certain sections in the ANC that are still serving the people.
It's his democratic right. Hear him out.
So people should do away with the notion that the ANC is entirely corrupt, as the chief whip have spoken.
Do you believe it's turning around the areas that have been cancerous? They're turning them around?
The ANC will make a turnaround.
Okay. Bua time.
Okay, good day everybody. My name is Simpwe Matebula. There's nothing to talk about in the ANC. The ANC is finished. People who are hanging there, it's a nutshell. The DA, you only have one mayor. Heron Manshaba is working. He's working for the country. He's doing very well.
Solim Simanga.
Soli's doing very well.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask Mr. Mthembu, what is happening with Mzwandile Masina? We never had anything about corruption, nothing being caught. There's nothing happening at Eguruleni. Henman has been caught so much corruption, they arrested even DA members who have been caught on corruption. What is happening with Mzwandile Masina? Second thing, let's talk about EFF here. EFF is the last hope for all of you. EFF, no, I'm not done. Oh, let me qualify my point.
Last point.
All right, let me qualify my point. Can I qualify my point?
Quickly, qualify it.
Okay. The reason I'm saying that, look at all of you here. If you are a call center agent, if you have anything happens to you, where do you run? Do you run to ANC or to the EFF? The EFF has stand for the poor. You lose water, you go to the EFF. You get fired, you go to the EFF. When we go to H&M, we never said ANC employee, we said South African employee.
All right, speak quickly, sir. I'm coming to my panel in just a moment. Speak.
Everywhere. My name is Pumlani. And my surname is Kulu.
Yes, Pumlani, speak please.
Yes, I'm from Tsepiso. What I can say...
Quickly.
The ANC is finished, as he said. We are fed up with ANC. And then ANC really is corrupt. There are people,
all of it.
There are people who are living in a shack since 1996. They've got C-forms. They are still living in shacks. They are doing nothing. Yes, under the ANC. And then, now people are getting expired in South Africa. Our government. Okay, listen.
They're getting...
Yes, listen. Why am I saying?
Okay, quick.
Why am I saying that? Because our government, when they are giving posts, they say 18 to 35. What about the graduate of 36 years? Because you don't qualify for a pension, and then you don't qualify to get jobs. So people are getting expired.
I hear what you're saying. Ma'am, 2 more and then speak. Carry on, carry on.
What I'd like to say is leadership is not about the next election, but the next generation. Yes. What about education? We as the Equal Education advocate for quality and quality within the South African education system. The parliament is now a WWE. What is it happening right now? It needs to be a house of honor and a house of rule. Please, honorable members, do your job as you promised.
Carry on, ma'am.
My name is Ratiwe. I'm from Dobsonville. This is directly to the Democratic Alliance. I want to know from the Democratic Alliance, honestly now, are you not the least bit worried about the next elections, considering I've been looking at social media and there's a divide ever since the whole Patricia de Lille saga. I want to know from you the way forward with that and if you are worried about the next elections.
All right.
Thank you.
We're going to respond to that in your wrap. Quickly, we're running out of time. You'll respond to that in your wrap up.
RDP. The RDP is the and mo ke utlwile speech sa president ka se tsa batho ba dule ga o tshwanele mosebetsi ska re ha councilor ba fa matla a ba fa khakala le distance le mo mosebetsi ba dulang teng so councilor e fa batho distance le mo ba dulang le mo mosebetsing ya bona
right
le matlo a teng a patalwa di 400 rand for key so ke batla go itse re matlo a di RDP a tsamaya jang RDP le low cost therefore different.
Okay, problem with RDP houses also being located far from centers of economic activity, and the president promised to change all of that. We have run out of time. I'm not taking any more comments from the panel, but what I'm going to do, you can answer some of what was raised in your closing argument. Delta, quickly.
Yeah, as BRA, we are calling the youth to be united, and they must make sure that they must distance from themselves from the ANC, because we've got the problem that, as some of the youth indicated, the issue of tenders in our cases. They only, if you're a youth, they are going to give you tender only when you are related to one of the councillors or the mayor.
Okay, so you're saying the youth must turn away from the ANC. I'm sure you on that corner, you don't agree with that. UDM, closing argument? Oh, there we go. Have this one.
It's a closing argument, comment, because I had a lot to say. But I think the issue here, even to Jackson Tembo from the ANC, is that our people are asking for leadership even on basic moral and ethical issues. To me, this is not an ANC bashing session per se, or people saying they are tired of political parties because they don't serve them. It's a session where they are making us to account to them to tell us exactly what they don't like about us, how they would like to be led by us. I think that's what we should take away from sessions such as these ones. Even when we go out, we don't only talk to those people who voted for us, our supporters, when we start campaigning. We should really listen to our people and hear exactly what they would like us to do differently. And that's exactly what we're going to do going forward as the UDM.
ADC, last comment?
Adek.
Oh, Adek, I beg your pardon.
I think citizens, women and the youth, they must take their power back. They must vote appropriately. The political parties are really failing us because they tend to be so narrowly focused on their party members and not necessarily the citizen. Let's disrupt the traditional political system.
EFF?
Politics unusual.
EFF?
Yeah. No, what I'd like to say is that the power is with the people. We must ensure that people understand the power. One vote counts. You know, when we say in this country that to win political power, you must have 50% plus one. Most people think it's 51%. It's actually 50% plus one person. And that one person could be you, could be me, so each vote counts. Make sure that you make politicians to pay. Don't complain in the corners and say, go and vote. And on that note, I'd like to ask people to go and register to vote on the 4th to the 11th of March.
That's important.
Because if you complain in the dark corners and you don't do anything about it, then you are disempowering yourself. The only way that we are going to clean up, as Mr. Mthembu says, clean out the ANC is by voting them out. Natasha?
I want to say in response, because the young lady asked me to be completely honest, and I will be. No one was more disappointed with what happened with Patricia de Lille than the DA itself. When one of your own that you trust turns out to be problematic and you have to take action against them, it hurts, and it's deeply hurtful. So let me tell you this. I don't worry about the next election. I worry about the next day. And every politician should worry about the next day, because we can never take the vote for granted. We are the servant to the people, and this is what the South African public need to know. You never give a party your vote, you lend a party your vote. And it's up to us to prove to you that you should lend us your vote. And if we don't perform the way you want us to perform, you have the right to take it back. There's no such thing as a ruling party. There is a party that governs a country, and young South Africans have the power to change who governs this country. They have the power to change their future. If they don't go and vote, they will have more of the same. Now is the time to change your government.
The ANC?
The problems facing the country, one of them are serious levels of unemployment. We are standing at 27% of unemployment in this country. For us to deal with that problem, we must grow the economy. We need to work together, all of us, in growing the various sectors of the economy.
Can we please give Mr. Jackson a chance to make his closing
tourism,
argument? Thanks.
whether agriculture, so that indeed there must be a dividend of liberation to our young people. Secondly, you know, for us to move South Africa to where Madiba would have loved us to move, the president has said we all need to talk with one another. Therefore, it is important that we don't talk above one another. The question of the summits with NGOs and CBOs, in my view, is important, so that they bring to the question to government their views on how all of us can move forward and deal with problems of our country. Secondly, the interaction that we have spoken to through our government with young people, to have an advisory body of young people that will sit down with our president and advise the president on the various difficulties that young people are faced with.
He can come to the big debate. The president, yeah, right. Can you ask the president to come to the big debate? We'll invite young people to advise him and give him questions and all of that.
We are saying...
I'm not inviting you. You are not listening.
As the ANC, through our president, we are listening. We are a listening party now. We have stopped.
Speak,
really, we have stopped. We have stopped. We have stopped this notion of being arrogant, because we know very well that being arrogant will not be able to take people of this country to the promised land. We therefore need to work together with everybody for us to go to the South Africa of our dreams.
We'll leave it there. That's the big debate for this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye. Thank you. Well done.